So you thought the Rams were going to draft somebody in the first round?
They have constantly hit on day 3 picks. Constantly.
We get a second round pick now, pick 46. That's our first pick of this draft. Colin, I think that's I think that's insane.
What grade did you give the LA Rams?
Yeah, I'm going to give them an A-.
It is a staff that always maximizes the talent on that roster.
Like, this is a scouting staff that finds value everywhere.
We gave the Rams a B- grade.
The NFL draft has concluded, and the Los Angeles Rams welcome in their new draftees. In this video, we are talking about the aftermath of the draft, the reaction to it, different grades flying around the internet, valid criticisms, but also room for, hey man, the Rams scouting department is awesome. Thanks for tuning into this video. Feel free to like and subscribe, all that good stuff, as we talk about the 2025 NFL draft for the Los Angeles Rams.
I think that plays a part, obviously, when you have a roster where there's players coming back, returning with starting experience, playing experience. That definitely allows you to, or I would say it's less wide open spots.
That was Rams general manager Les Snead right after the draft in his post-draft press conference, and he's talking about how there's not a lot of roster spots necessarily open on the Rams roster currently. This is not a draft that they needed 14 players, 11 players like they had in previous 2 drafts. So they had a luxury in this draft of getting the guys they wanted. The Rams had 8 picks going into this draft, including 4 in the 6th round, which they didn't end up drafting in the 6th round at all. And they also had a first-round pick at picks 26, which they traded away to Atlanta to accumulate a second-round pick this year, plus an additional first-round pick next year. And that's one of the biggest storylines.
Colin, I think that's I think that's insane.
Of the 6 players, 5 of them were involved in some sort of pick swap to some degree. And for having 4 6th-round picks coming into the draft, they didn't end up using any of them. I would say the 2 major headlines that I'm seeing out of this draft are that the Rams picked up a first-round pick next year from Atlanta, and that the Rams have a history of finding late-round talent. And both those things are true. But let's take a look at the NFL Draft Consensus Big Board and compare it to where the Rams actually drafted players to see what kind of value that they got in terms of, the pre-draft process. All right, so this is the Rams Wire here. Great article by Cameron DeSilva just that came out, where Rams draft picks ranked on the 2025 Consensus Big Board. So this is the consensus big board of the draft kind of ranking of what scouting departments and general managers thought about the draft as a whole. And let's compare where the Rams pick to where they were ranked, those draft picks were ranked on that big board. So first one up, the tight end Terence Ferguson out of Oregon. They picked him 46 overall, and on the big board he was ranked 85th. So that's definitely one of the biggest criticisms I'm hearing around the internet about this is they took Terence Ferguson too early. I'm of the mindset of, if you believe he is that extra wrinkle in your offense, you need to diversify it, because that's what Sean McVay has been talking about all off season long, and so is Stafford. There's lots of affirmation about that. But Terence Ferguson, I think they believe they can coach him up. They can develop him into a high caliber tight end in the NFL. I have no issue that they picked him with the 46 overall pick, but I do see that is one criticism that the experts and fans have about the Los Angeles Rams draft. Josiah Stewart out of Michigan, they got him at pick 90. And he, on the big board, was ranked 87th. Okay, so that's pretty cool. They got him, 30 picks, later, which I guess we're always looking to hunt for some deals and things like that. We're a bunch of bargain shoppers. But the reality is, this is a great pick. Looking forward to seeing Josiah Stewart in a Rams uniform. I think he's going to be very productive. Running back Jacquez Hunter out of Auburn was drafted with the 117th pick. The Rams traded up to get him there, and on the big board he was ranked 160. So I'm sure some people will criticize that. If you've been watching the Rams draft since Sean McVay has been the coach, every single draft he drafts a running back. And, Pierce Hunter is that running back this year. He's the chosen one, the token Rams drafted running back. And they did trade up to get him. And so I'm sure some people are going to say, oh, they reached for him and things like that. I acknowledge those criticisms, but at the same time, the Rams have a luxury of a roster that's pretty well built. and they can go and draft the players that they like. They don't have to, they don't have to take the players that the media tells them to. All right, Ty Hamilton out of Ohio State, defensive tackle. He was drafted with the 148th overall pick, and the big board had him ranked at 155. So Hamilton is a player that I feel like a lot of Ram fans and NFL fans in general felt that he could bring value as long as you didn't overdraft him, and I don't think that the Rams did. I think they drafted him at a very appropriate, I think they drafted him at a very appropriate spot. The criticism is they think it was a high price. They had to give up a 2026 fourth round pick in next year's draft in order to get Ty Hamilton at that 148 spot, where some people thought, they could have waited a little bit more. All right, this is my favorite pick of the draft. Linebacker Chris Paul Jr., aka Pooh, out of Ole Miss. They drafted him with the 172nd pick, and he on the big board he ranked 108. So definitely a lot of people are saying this is possibly the steal of the draft. Even in this article here by Cameron De Silva, he says Paul was undoubtedly the biggest steal of the draft for the Rams, going 64 spots lower than his ranking on the big board. And I've heard some other podcasters announce this, say they were shocked that the Rams got him at pick 172. And if you look at his college film, he passes the eye test. And given the state of the Rams linebacking situation, he's someone that has an opportunity to be productive in his rookie year. I think this was a fantastic pick for the Rams. Welcome Chris Paul Jr., or aka Pooh, to the Rams. And now we're in the 7th round. The Rams' final pick was wide receiver Kanata Mumfield out of Pittsburgh. They drafted him with the 242nd pick, and on the big board he was 290. So it technically was a reach, as they say. But again, when it comes to the 7th round, a lot of 7th round draft picks don't even make practice squads, or they're just kind of lifelong special teamers, things like that. I think Mumfield has a lot of positives. He has a great catch radius, a pretty decent vertical with 36-inch vertical. We'll see. We will see. I'm looking forward to seeing him in camp. The Rams do have a loaded wide receiving room with Devontae Adams. You have Puka Nacua. You have Tutu Atwell. You have Xavier Smith. You have Jordan Whittington. And so Mumfield comes into a room that's pretty savvy and, veteran presence there. And he'll definitely have some opportunities to contribute. But I do think he is going to be more of a special teams guy. So there you have it. Some people will say the Rams reached for some of these players. Some they say they got good value. But at the end of the day, these are the players that the Rams drafted. And you know what? Just to put a bow on it, let's hear from Coach Sean McVay.
I think it's a positive thing for us to be able to feel like, all right, we can go up and get some players that there was a consistent buy-in, appreciation for, and we call them HOTs. And they're all these guys, they had hot grades for the people that we had look at them when you're talking about coaches and Les's group. And when you can have that collective buy-in and then the vision, everybody feels like they want to bring it to life, and these players feel believed in, and that's so important to what we want to be about.
So there you have it. Yes, it rocks that the Rams were able to pick up an additional first-round pick in 2026. Well, they still got the tight end that they were looking for. They drafted a lot of players that they feel they can develop into key contributors on the Rams roster and compete for a Super Bowl in 2025. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on the Los Angeles Rams draft. I look forward to chatting with you. And as always, go Rams, horns up, and peace out. Let's go Rams. And thanks for watching. Feel free to check out some of my other videos, all that good stuff, and like, subscribe, the YouTube things.